Well, hello and welcome to the African News and Voice of the People television. I am David Edwin. Before we begin the news, we would urge you to kindly visit our website, www.vop.ng, for fresh and trending stories. We begin the African News from Burkina Faso, where Burkina Faso has called for an investigation into the death of pro-government influencer Alain Christophe Traoré, who died in detention in neighboring Côte d'Ivoire. Traoré was also known as Alino Faso, who had been in custody since January after his arrest on charges of colluding with foreign agents in a way that could threaten Côte d'Ivoire's military or diplomatic interest. Authorities say he was found dead in his cell in the economic capital, Abidjan. Traoré was a vocal supporter of the Burkina Faso government, and his death has sparked calls for clarity surrounding the circumstances of his detention and demise. And in Cameroon, opposition leader Maurice Kamto is challenging his disqualification from October's presidential election, filing an appeal with the country's constitutional council. Kamto, who was runners-up to President Paul Biya in the 2018 election, was barred last week by the electoral body, Elecam. The agency claimed that his party, Manidem, had already submitted a different candidate for the 2025 vote. However, Kamto supporters were crying foul, accusing Elecam of selective enforcement and noting that other parties have been allowed to field multiple candidates without interference. Kamto is widely regarded as the main challenger to 92-year-old President Paul Biya, the world's oldest seven head of state, who had ruled Cameroon since 1982. Meanwhile, the United Nations Department of Safety and Security have warned that the exclusion of candidates could spark public protests in the capital, Yaoundé. Still talking politics, and now in Senegal, Senegal's Justice Minister Ousmane Diaguine has formally requested an investigation into political violence that rocked the country between 2021 and 2024. In a letter to the Attorney General, Diaguine called for a foolproof probe to uncover the causes and accountability behind the unrest, which left at least 80 persons dead and dozens more seriously injured, either in clashes with security forces or in skirmishes between civilians. The prosecutor of the Republic of Dakar, Ibrahim Ndoye, has been appointed to lead the investigation. His mandate includes identifying those responsible and determining whether to pursue charges against civilians, law enforcement officers, or political leaders. In addition to the reported deaths and injuries, some citizens have alleged torture during the unrest, raising serious concerns over human rights violations. Moving on, several persons have been reportedly killed and many arrested in Angola's capital, Luanda, as protests over a hike in the price of diesel turned violent on Monday, with local media reporting looting incidents and clashes with police. The Southern African oil-producing country hiked the diesel price by 1/3 this month as part of a long-running government drive to curb costly subsidies and shore up public finances. Following that, minibus taxi associations have hiked fares by up to 50% and went on a 3-day strike starting on Monday. In the clash, which has reportedly recorded no fewer than 3 persons, including a police officer, the police used tear gas and smoked grenades, also firing shots into the air to try to restore calm. The police said that shops in Luanda had been looted, adding that police operatives had made an undisclosed number of arrests. In another conflict scenario, the Office of the Commissioner in South Sudan has accused Uganda's People Defense Forces of launching a cross-border armed assault in Nyanga Muda, located in the Kajokeji County in central Equatorial State. In a statement, Press Secretary in the Commissioner's Office, Isaac Worry, said the incident involved an exchange of gunfire between suspected Ugandan troops and a local joint operations unit stationed in the area. According to the statement, preliminary reports suggest that UPDF personnel attacked a South Sudanese security outpost tasked with monitoring the border region. It said the incidents reportedly disrupted a scheduled cross-border meeting between local leaders from both countries, an initiative spearheaded by the Yumbe District Residence Commissioner of Uganda, Sulaiman Luwama. The Commissioner's office said it was working closely with security agencies to establish the facts surrounding the alleged attack. Meanwhile, the Ugandan authorities are yet to comment on the matter. Moving on, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has warned against using hunger as a tool of war and called for urgent reforms to a global food system that is failing millions. In a video message to heads of states and international delegates at the opening of the second UN Food System Summit in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, Guterres said the world must never accept hunger as a weapon of war. Pointing to crisis zones from Gaza to Sudan and beyond, where violence is pushing people into deeper levels of food insecurity, he said the conflict continues to be a leading driver to hunger. Guterres highlighted the systemic failures contributing to the crisis, noting that 1/3 of the world's population cannot afford a healthy diet, while 1/3 of all food produced is either lost or wasted. He added that the hidden cost of food systems, which are measures in health, environmental damage, and human suffering, amount to $10 trillion per year, nearly 3 times the value of the food economy itself. Russia has signed a civil nuclear cooperation agreement with Niger's military-led government, which includes plans to build nuclear power plants and overhaul the country's energy infrastructure. Finalized in Niamey by officials from Russia's State Atomic Energy Corporation, Rosatom, and Niger's Energy Ministry, the Memorandum of Understanding outlines a long-term partnership focused on electricity generation, nuclear medicine, and workforce training. Russia's Energy Minister Sergei Tisvilev, who led Moscow's delegation, said their task was not simply to participate in uranium mining, but to create an entire system for the development of peaceful atomic energy in Niger. The project's scope includes power plants, energy distribution systems, and localized expertise in what is perceived as another milestone in Moscow's growing influence across the Sahel. You're still watching the African News right here on Voice of the People Television. Now let's get to the analysis segment of the news. Joining us this beautiful afternoon right here in the studio is Barrister Darlington Agumo, who is Voice of the People TV's in-house political affairs analyst and a legal practitioner right here in Nigeria. Barrister, a very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, David. How are you?
I'm fine, very well, thank you. How are you doing, Barrister?
Okay.
Also joining us virtually all the way from Uganda is Dr. Joseph Opul. Dr. Joseph is a doctor fellow at the University of Dar es Salaam in Tanzania and the director of Opul Skilling Foundation Africa. Dr. Joseph, a very good afternoon to you as well.
Good afternoon, David, and good afternoon, Barrister. Thank you for joining us together. It has been a while since I caught up with the Barrister.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Well, thank you so very much, Doctor, for joining us. All right, let's get to the conversation proper. I'm going to start from the studio here. Barrister, interestingly, Russia is in another kind of conversation with Niger Republic, particularly on the nuclear power plants deal. This, according to some quarters, is going to also give Niger Republic some energy boost when it comes to nuclear energy, particularly in that country. And of course, you would recall that Niger is also having a military-led government in that country. First off, what's your general overview of these kind of deal, particularly Russia coming to do major deals like this with Niger Republic, a country very close to Nigeria? Barrister.
Is it me?
Yes, please.
Oh, David, they say necessity is the mother of invention. Is that not true?
Right.
Remember that in Nigeria we have been supplying them lights. And over the years, we wanted to even colonize Nigeria as a vassal state to Nigeria. And these people were bidding their time. In fact, the last civilian regime that was overthrown in that country, I can say that Nigeria installed that man there. And the people were grumbling, they were not happy until the military took over. And these people now decided to take their destiny in their own hands. They cut off everything from Nigeria and from ECOWAS.
Right.
And today, re-governance is coming to that country. It is on record today that Niger is one of the fastest growing economies in the whole world. Everything that the civilian regime could not do, these civilian daughters are doing it for Nigerian people, and they are happy. David, it will be the height of embarrassment for Niger to become a nuclear power before Nigeria. I am telling you, it will be the height of embarrassment for that country to become a nuclear power before you, the giant of Africa.
But Barrister, wouldn't that mean that it is a people and a leader wanting to do right with his people that have made him go into these kind of deals, rather than, of course, trying to do the comparison of Nigeria in all of this conversation?
No, it is important because I trace the genesis of this power struggle or power war.
Okay.
Nigeria was supplying them light. Is that not true? You remember? It's a fact. Now look at what it had led it to. Now, all the things that Nigeria is lacking as a nation, have we found alternative? David, have you found alternative? Rather, whenever we are lacking anything, we go and borrow from China, America, or even Russia. Is that not what we have been doing? Instead of looking for a permanent solution to our problem, we don't. Look, if that country become a nuclear power, I would not be happy with Nigerian government. I'm not joking. Because these are things we ought to have overcome by now with all the resources we have. Look at a whole country called Nigeria struggling with 5,000 megawatts of electricity. How can you develop? Do you know that with this kind of development, very soon now, Nigeria will be the place to be?
Barrister, there's also the concern about the fact that the Minister of Power did say that it's not just producing energy that is the problem. Distribution is another problem, which he did mention as a yardstick, that distribution consistently has been the problem. So is there anything that the minister is not doing right in terms of generation of power? Because they've been big on the fact that we have gone a bit higher in terms of generation of power as compared to before now.
Have you seen the kind of leaders you have? That talk, is it not more annoying that if he has shut up? It's like a farmer who went to harvest the food, and the food was so much. I now come and tell the family that, look, we have food though. The problem is who will cook it so that you eat it. That is the meaning of what this man has just said. You have power. but you cannot distribute it for consumption. So why did you produce the power? Why did you produce it? Is it not better we don't have it than for you to be looking at the power, yet nobody is using it? Then when the thing is wasted, you now go and pay the junkos for it. Can you just imagine? The technology to distribute it, is it lacking in the world? America has over 1.3 trillion megawatts of electricity.
In other words,
how are they distributing it?
Are you saying that there is no political will to getting it right?
Look, incompetence is the word. Remove the political will. We are using to deceive Nigerians. People who don't know what they are doing in office. Incompetent leaders who are just there to plunder. If that power he's talking about is we are to be turned into money, will he come and tell you that you see this money, we are not going to touch it? No, answer me. Will he tell you see this money? Let it be there for the next generation. You have power, you cannot distribute it. So the technology to distribute it, you can't find it anywhere in the world. You don't know what to do, Abi. I should clap for you. You have made a statement. So what happened to the power? No, what happened to it at the end of the day? Huge question there, Barrister. Let's take it to Uganda, where Dr. Joseph is already with us. Doctor, you are familiar with this conversation, and to think that Nigeria as a country, who before now was supplying power to the same country, Niger, is presently still struggling with some amount of megawatts in terms of distribution. And like my guest here did say, it's an act of incompetence. But then, from your perspective, what's the general overview of this conversation between Niger and Russia, particularly in the part of having a major energy infrastructure in that country?
So much, David. Thank you so much, Barrister, and all our viewers across the world. Now, first of all, I would like to start with that Africa has so many nuclear experts, Africa as a whole. And when you come to Nigeria, when you come to Niger and the rest of the African countries, so I'm always hurt when I hear that everything has to start with it must be either Russia with an African country, America. Why not in Niger doing it? We should be always ahead. Now, as far as Russia is concerned, well, the project is good. Nuclear energy project is good for the country. We do not know the interest of Russia because the Europeans or the whites, they always do things very strategically. There must be interest which might be hidden, whether the Niger government is aware or not aware. But we are saying that nobody puts their money somewhere without their interest. So to me, my issue is that Africans should start doing things on their own. Why do we have all these experts and we're still running to other countries looking for support in the nuclear energy and then even other sectors? So anyhow, I am sure that the government of Niger must have planned this in the best interest of the people of that country. But what we are saying is that, Barrister was saying that many leaders from African countries or those who are in power, not only are they incompetent, but also selfish. They like prioritizing issues that affect them more as individuals than the interests of the people or the population who are paying taxes of those respective countries. So I would like to really say that, our experts in Africa, in all different fields, what are we doing? You understand?
Now, I'm still going to stay with you, Doctor. Sorry to cut your line of thought there. You did say we have experts when it comes to energy, but do we have the infrastructure for these experts to work? The technology to work on, because this is about one of the things that Russia is coming in this deal to do in Niger Republic. Do we have that enough for these guys to function well?
When we are doing human capital development, universities across Africa, must prioritize, and they must know that this is what we need for Niger, for Nigeria, for Africa. You don't just send people to university to have a paper and they get out and they. So what you are saying that do we have the infrastructure? Do we have the technology? Do we have all these things? You know, in Israel, if they don't have that capacity, they will fund people to go to a country to study where they have that capacity.
Exactly.
They get that information, they come and do it there. So even as from African point of view, you can't start investment which you don't know that you have the capacity, you have the technology, you have the infrastructure. All those things must have been planned, unless it was just something which is reactive. Okay. We start today and then tomorrow we are planning, we are lacking this, we are doing firefighting. The fire has caught here, you take water here, you what, and all this. I'm sure that this must have been planned, and in case if it has not been planned, this is where we need to focus our attention as the people of Africa.
All right,
to specifically plan for what we need in Africa.
Now, I'm still going to stay with you before I ask the same question to Barrister. He did mention about the fact that, and of course you also did corroborate what he said, that some African leaders are quite selfish. But looking at the fact that the Nigerian leader is a military junta, which of course some would say is not democracy as it were, are we saying that it's about having the military doing the right thing for the people rather than what a lot of African nations have embraced in the quest for democracy? Is that what we're saying?
You know, okay, there are two things. Okay, one is that, you know, psychology of the gun. When David has a gun, each time David has a problem with a pole, say, be careful with me. You say I have a gun. That is one. Number two, we had Muammar Gaddafi. He was a military leader. Even if he made some errors during the regime, but you can realize that Libya during his time was almost living luxury or better life than any country in Europe or even in America.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
So I think it's not about necessarily the question of the military leader being in power, but if you have a lot of wisdom in the head of the military leader, I think we can be able to do better.
All right, then. Let me come to the studio. Barrister, almost same question, but then looking at the fact that still talking democracy and, of course, having a military leader lead the country, is there a possibility that Africans possibly did not even fight for their democracy to value it the much that some of these military leaders who, of course, according to Dr. Opo, some that have the brain and the political will to get it right for their people is doing?
David, in the 60s, when the wind of change started blowing across Africa, the colonial masters were giving independence to their colonial states in Africa. We thought that the new world is here. With the crop of leaders we had then, yes, they were patriotic. They wanted things done right, you know. They had that zeal. But with time, they knew guys on the saddle. They have bastardized democracy. They have messed it up to the extent that people are not disgruntled. I mean, you can see it yourself. In most of African states today, you don't know whether it is democracy or military. You don't know. Because of the way their leaders are behaving. Look at Paul Biya, a man of 92 years. He's telling you that his best is yet to come.
Oh yes, I'm glad you went there, Barrister.
So what is the sit-tight syndrome of a civilian regime? And it's not as if he's doing anything fantastic in Cameroon, no. It's not as if he has been elevated Cameroon to the highest level of human development. Yet at 92, he's claiming that his best is yet to come. So if this attitude continues, I am telling you, mark my word, the new generation may not tolerate these people who claim to be civilian leaders.
All right, then. So, Barrister, I'm still going to stay with you on the Cameroonian situation. Interestingly, the opposition leader, and I'm talking about Maurice Kamto, have been disqualified from, gunning for the next election. the same election that President Paul Biya has said that he's also gunning for. Now, looking at these kind of conversation of disqualification, is there the possibility that there is now what some quarters will call elite state capture on the institutions that are supposed to be independent on their own to pull out such civic rights of the people?
Whenever leaders, C-type leaders come into power, you know the first thing they do? They capture all the institutions of states that will support their C-type syndrome. That's the first thing they do. They capture the military, the police, the electoral body, the judiciary, then the civil service, and every other institution, and then plant their cronies in these institutions so that nobody will question their staying in power. That's what they do. That's the first thing. Is either they use their family members or their friends to retain themselves in power. And when that is done, they will now begin to do what I call a sham election. You would think that after all, they conducted an election. But you can see. Why did they disqualify that man? Why? Did they tell you any reason?
Well, one of the reasons that they said is that his party has fielded another candidate. Mm-hmm. But he is saying that there are other parties that fielded more than 1, 2, 3 candidates. Mm-hmm. So why the exception of himself?
Oh God Almighty! So if his party fielded 20 candidates, is it not for them to go to the polls and let the people choose? Whoever wins will become the leader. Is that not true? So you can see now. You can see if the Electoral Act permits it, why is it their concern? Because I know that the party cannot go against the electoral rules and guidelines. So what is the problem? Now that Paul Biya not the sole candidate of his own party. So my dear, look, this mess will stop at a point. Oh. If Niger become a success story, Mali become a success story, then Burkina Faso become a success story, and these states are led by the military, what do you think will happen? Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Hold on. Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
Oh, well.
Okay.
But Barrister, let's just move straight to Uganda. Dr. Joseph, interestingly, Kamto, I'm talking about Maurice Kamto, is widely regarded as the main challenger of President Paul Biya of Cameroon. Of course, you know, he is about one of the oldest serving heads of states in the world, and he's been on and of course in power since 1982. But then let's look at the conversation around what the United Nations Department of Safety and Security did warn of, that the exclusion of candidates could spark public protests in the capital, Yaoundé. If these happen, that's going to cause major casualties. What's your overview of this conversation, Doctor?
One is that one party fielding 2 candidates. Of course, that might have been strategic by the people in power, so that maybe the other candidate that was they accepted might have been a weaker candidate, because I'm not sure whether it's the government in power to decide which party should field which candidate.
Exactly.
That should be that should be a starting point. You understand? So they must have seen that this other candidate,
more
the
popular.
stronger one.
Yeah.
Let's leave him behind, and we take Dr. Paul, who is not popular, to allegedly compete with those in power. Of course, that's not the way we do democracy. It's not a very good one. You cannot tie somebody's legs and then you say, let's play football. You tie my hands and say, let's run. So how do we run? Your hands are free, mine are tied, and we are supposed to run at the same pace. So this is not good. But overall, about the issue of Cameroon, following, this is one of the longest serving leader in the whole world. You know, this does not happen from one individual as a head of state. As Council Baristas made it very clear, they are collaborators within apparatus of government. You know, government has 3 structures: judiciary, executive, and then parliament, or what they call legislature, and all those. So how can one person be able to manipulate all these 3 arms of government? I think sometime back, the former president of Senegal attempted to do this until the parliament said, But this money, we're always given this money. But where does he get this money from? This is our money.
Exactly.
Money from the taxpayer. You go and pick from our parents or our relatives, then you give it to us, claiming that the money is yours. So until when the rest of the people in Africa start questioning some things one by one, this kind of arrangement may continue for some time. So you don't blame the president alone, but really those who are working with him, and even the population, because part of the money even goes to the population. You vote the barrister as a member of parliament or a legislator, and you must spend money for you to go to the assembly to deliberate things for the people. So the issue is quite very complex.
All right, then. I'm still going to stay with you on this same conversation. The United Nations Department of Safety had really warned, and I wanted to talk on that part of safety of the people, because this is going to cause another kind of protest, which again, in recent time in Africa, demonstrations have been foiled with so much casualties that even the UN is consistently talking. If Mr. Kamto is exempted from the ballot, do you think this would maybe spark a major outbreak of demonstration in Cameroon?
David and Barrister and our viewers, who have been discussing as African continent ways to have durable solutions to peace, durable solutions to migration, durable solutions to wars that are happening in Africa. Now, this is already a fertile ground for unrest, insecurity, even the outbreak of a war, because many of the wars, they start in a very small way.
Exactly.
It may start from a demonstration.
Through election.
It may start through a smaller demonstration because of exclusion to participate in election, and then it will eventually flare up into a very big war, and that will, cause displacement, migration, refugees, and all this. So this is certainly not good for African continent as large, because if first of all, if having been in power for all these years, you should be able to even to win elections without going to ask from the people, because you should have really done your best. Now, if you never did really a lot in the past years, I am not sure whether you'll be able to do it in the next 5 or so years very well.
Yes. Well, let me bring it back to the studio. Barrister, Doctor just said something quite insightful. If he has not gained so much confidence in the
over the years,
I mean, is this another move to wanting to disenfranchise the people who believe that opposition leader Kamto Morris is a candidate for them?
I said the man is, maybe by now, I am very, very sure that man is suffering from dementia. Because for him to be telling the whole world that his best is yet to come at 92, can't you see that the man have lost touch with reality? Which best is coming at 92 years when he's already at the departure launch of an airport? 92. Your best is yet to come.
Barrister, so, the saying of the wine gets sweeter when it's older, isn't that visible in
this one? This one has gone sour.
Okay.
This wine has gone sour.
Right.
It's not getting sweet at all. It's not. So the earlier you understand it, the better. His doctors will tell him that, look, don't stress yourself. You have done enough. Go and sit down. Your best is yet to come at 92.
Oh, well, we're definitely keeping our eyes on this conversation and looking at, of course, how it develops, because the election is sometime in October this year. All right, let's get to another conversation because of our time. Barrister, interestingly, several persons have been killed in Angola as a result of protests over fuel hike in Angola. Looking at these conversations, Barrister, we talk about demonstrations and how police handle protesters. And this is another one that have, of course, come to us in a space of how many days that we heard about, another demonstration in another African country. But the people protesting about the hike in petroleum products, isn't that a normal thing to do to get the attention of the government? And then why is the consistent police brutality when it comes to demonstrators who, again, some quarters have said, were practically trying to stop and loot some business areas?
David, Angola is an oil-producing nation, true or false?
Sure.
Good.
And the president is also the president of the African Union.
Good. And the daughter is in the oil business in that country. At a point, they say that she is one of the richest people in Africa. The question is, this increment of fuel price, how much, did they mention how much increment we are talking about here? Was it that too big or too high for the people to bear? Because there are things you will do, you say, okay, it's reasonable. It is expected and all that. The resources so far that the oil has given to Angola, has it been properly managed so that the people will not suffer for your incompetence? David, as I talk to you today, Saudi Arabia, their people don't pay tax. I hope you know. Saudi Arabia, their main forte is oil. In fact, they are the highest member of OPEC in terms of oil production. And the family, the House of Saud, have been managing the resources that these people of Saudi Arabia, they don't pay tax.
Well, Barrister, let's put it out there. The diesel price was increased by 1/3 this month, which, of course, in turn, when drivers began to, push up their prices, they also did it by 50%. So let's say, for instance, 1/3 of 1,000 naira increased as well is what they, had as an increase, which is the reason for this demonstration.
They should praise us, David. They should come and praise us.
How do you mean?
If you want to compare, it's about 250 then. If you are talking about 1/3 of 1,000 naira.
Yes.
Was it how your own was increased? You can see. What we have been enduring, other countries cannot even take it. So the people of Angola, if I were you, I should relax, because the goat in a compound saw the dog barking so hard. The goat now went to the dog and said, "Come, my friend, you are making too much. Why are you barking this? Look, that thing you saw and you are barking, I have been living with it for years before you came here. Why not keep quiet?" So the people of Angola, they should go around and check. Well, that will tell you how people are aware of their work, their rights. Tell us how you manage the resources so far before you start talking of this increment.
But the government, Barrister, the government of Angola did say, as part of long-running government drive to curb costly subsidies and shore up the public finances, is the reason for that increase, Barrister.
Really? So the oil, hold on, this oil is a natural resource, David. It's there under the earth. God gave it to them. These other Western countries like Japan and Singapore that don't even have oil, please, are they not existing? Is your foreign reserve bigger than their own? You that have oil.
Huge question, Barrister.
You that have oil, what are you doing with the oil? Do you know that most African leaders would have evaporated into thin air if not for the oil God gave them? All the natural resources in Africa, what are you doing with it? I just gave you an example of Saudi Arabia here. During the COVID-19 era, Saudi Arabia made so much money that the UN was asking them what happened. Are you the only country? In our own case here, did we make any gain? Rather, they were using it as an excuse to increase the fuel.
All right, then, because of our time, let's just take it.
So we don't have leaders in Africa at all. We don't. Seriously, we don't. I don't know where their brain went to.
Let's take this conversation to Uganda while we wrap this up. Dr. Joseph, quickly, this conversation about increasing fuel prices in, Angola, that has caused demonstration. Well, again, the government, like I said earlier, did say that this is about the running of the government's drive to, curb costly subsidies and shore up public finances. These conversations seem to be not sitting well with the people of Angola. What's your take with all of this? In 1 minute, please, because of our time.
A challenge is that in Africa we have political entrepreneurs. People who will start doing business because your father has come to power, your uncle is the other way, and so on. And therefore, they can manipulate, they can remote control business at their will against the interest of the population of the respective countries. And this is what is exactly is happening to Angola. I heard Barista saying that the person in charge of fuel, I think is a relative or a daughter of a head of state and so on. But I can assure you that if you don't deal with the challenges affecting the population, no matter whether you have stayed for 40 years, 20, your time will come and end with the population.
Right,
the time when the military, the police, all of them will be overpowered.
Exactly.
All right then.
Exactly.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Joseph Opoul. Well, this is where we have to draw anchor on the analysis segment of the African News. We've been talking with Barrister Darlington Agummo, who is Voice of the People TV's in-house political affairs analyst and a legal practitioner right here in Nigeria. And virtually, we also had Dr. Joseph Opoul. Dr. Joseph is a doctor fellow at the University of Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, and also the director of Opoul Scaling Foundation Africa. Gentlemen, thank you so very much for being here.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, then the rest of African News will continue shortly, just after this quick break. You want to stay with us. Glad to have you back. It is still the African News right here on Voice of the People Television. Now to more stories. The national spokesperson of ZANU-PF, Christopher Mutsvangwa, says many Zimbabweans who left the country at the peak of economic and political turmoil are now investing back home, while others are returning to their ancestral nation. Mutsvangwa, who was recently in South Africa for the 2025 Liberation Movement Summit, hosted by the African National Congress in Kempton Park, said the exiles settled in numerous countries, including South Africa. Responding to questions on the prevailing political and economic situation in Zimbabwe, Mutsvangwa said Zimbabweans in South Africa are seeking greener pastures, but the situation back home is significantly improved. According to him, it is the search for better pastures, and that is natural. He explained that South Africa had the advantage of having comparative access to capital as a white apartheid state. At the summit, where such Southern African liberation movements as the ANC, People's Movement for the Liberation of Angola, Namibia's ruling Southwest Africa People's Organization, and the Tanzanian ruling Chama cha Mapinduzi, among others. Moving on, Somalia's national carrier, Somalia Airline, is set to return to the skies after over 3 decades of inactivity. Nicknamed the White Star, the airline once operated with both domestic and international flights, but suspended operations in 1991 following the collapse of President Said Barre's government, which led to years of civil unrest. Transport Minister Mohammed Farah says the airline is expected to resume flights in about 2 months following the government's acquisition of 2 Airbus A320 aircraft. He added that at least 3 more planes will be added as Somalia Airlines prepares to expand to international destinations. The minister noted that the relaunch of the national carrier is expected to boost connectivity, drive economic growth, and restore national pride in Somalia's aviation industry. And from that story, we'll move straight to talking business, where the South African rand weakened in early trading on Tuesday, with investor attention pinned at the outcome of the country's monetary policy meeting and updates on tariff negotiations. This is as the country faces a 30% levy on its export to the United States. The rand traded at 17.925 against the dollar, about 0.6% weaker than Monday's close. In a research note, ETM Analytics said the risk-sensitive currency is expected to remain vulnerable as there were still no updates on the country's progress in negotiating a trade deal with the U.S., while the August 1st deadline edges closer. The nation's central bank will announce its rate decision on Thursday, when another 25 basis point cut is expected by economists. And to wrap up the African news, we'll go straight talking sports. Africa's two-time champion, Morocco, were the first team to arrive for the 2024 Total Energy CAF African Nation Championships, to be co-hosted by Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda. The Atlas Lion landed at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport in Nairobi, receiving a vibrant East African welcome complete with traditional dances and music. Hoping to become the first country to win the CHAN titles 3 times, the North African Giants are wasting no time in getting acclimatized as they begin their final preparations for the tournament's opener. According to defender Moran Luandnin, who plays club football for AS FAR, the team is excited to be in Kenya and ready for CHAN. He's added that the Nairobi weather is great and lovely, and the Moroccans are looking forward to a successful tournament. Morocco's early arrival signals intent as the 2-time winners look to dominate Group A, which includes host Kenya, DR Congo, Angola, and Zambia. They begin their campaign on Sunday against Angola at the Nyayo National Stadium. And with that sports story, we've come to the end of African News right here on Voice of the People Television. Do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel. On YouTube, we are at Voice of the People TV, and on all other social media platforms, we are at VOP TV Live. Thank you so very much for being a part of this broadcast. I am David Edwin. Do have a good afternoon.